Now, to discuss this issue with us further is Dr. James Thring from the UK. Now, Dr. James, peace talks in Minsk failed over a week ago, so would the new round of peace talks involving Germany and France make any difference?
Well, possibly not, but there are one or two differences, I think. I think the demilitarized zone is a new kind of offer, which might help the peace treaty, as it were, if there is one. And mind you, it depends whether it's drawn on the borders of Donetsk and Luhansk with the rest of Ukraine, or whether it's drawn round the borders of the areas that are held by the rebels, which is only about half of that area.
And that could explain the increase of the fighting. They want to take as much territory as possible before they probably come to some sort of agreement, if that was to be the case.
Well, I think the Russian-speaking people fill up the whole of the Lugansk and Donetsk region or sub-region, and therefore, obviously, they want the whole region to themselves. Otherwise, there'll be people there who'll still be subject to this ridiculous law that Russian isn't a legal language in the country. That's one of the things that's caused the trouble in the first place.
But do you think, with the Ukrainian, Poroshenko saying that there should be an unconditional ceasefire, and but with the renewed offensives as we've seen, do you think that there will be such an unconditional ceasefire?
Well, he says that, but actually he's put conditions into it, hasn't he? He said he wants everybody to lay down their arms on the rebel side, whilst he's not going to lay down his arms, obviously, and he wants the so-called foreign fighting forces to disappear. Well, that may or may not be the case that they are there, but it's a condition nevertheless. And if there are Russian people, I don't think it's the Russian army, but there are Russian people helping their fellows in eastern Ukraine, then that's they're right.
Well, I mean, Washington is now sort of waiting to look at the conclusion of these peace talks, and they are saying that if they do fail, they will very probably arm the Ukrainian military. Now, what implications would that have if that was to go ahead?
Well, as we've seen in the other Russian Western theatre of war in the Balkans, that leads to NATO muscling in on the side of the Kiev and eventually bombing people, civilian targets, trains, farms, factories, electricity generating stations and so on, and total chaos. Everybody suffers. The country loses its economic status, and it will also lose, of course, the benefit of Russian gas, which props up the country to some extent, and also, and as it happens, props up quite a lot of Europe,
well,
East Europe.
Speaking on that subject, I mean, the EU said they would probably impose more sanctions on Russia if the peace deal fails. Do you think the EU are being constructive when they try to do something like this?
Well, they're being constructive as far as their relations with the Americans are concerned, because that order must be coming from somewhere else other than Europe, because it damages European trade, European energy, and European relations with Russia much more than it does anybody else's. So, I mean, the Americans don't care quite so much about trade with Russia, and therefore one suspects that the pressure's coming from them.
Okay, political expert Dr. James Thring, thank you very much for that analysis.